Welcome, everybody. We're having the Treasury Guild meeting number 5, I believe, top of head. We've got Ivo, Myro, Andre, Eric, OEP, and Grandano here. And basically, yeah, we're discussing the results of a farm we've posted a week and a half ago, I think. Maybe 2 weeks even. Asking questions.
At least 3.
At least 3 even. Time flies. It asks basically questions about who's in control of what in regards to the treasury. Yeah, that's a broad outline. And as far as I'm concerned, we can go straight into the results of the farm.
All right. Yes. First question. Do we want to reuse the form, or we take that as a final, or we just come up with the result later?
You mean reusing as in next year or for different periods?
Like still having it open and like checking it again if there are new responses in like, yeah, next year basically. Or do you find that not progressive?
True. Yeah, good question. I don't mind reusing it, but if we have, I think we did try to push for people to fill it in, so I'm not sure if it would generate that much more responses.
Right. I mean, it's a definite answer, but it gives us understanding that this is going to be more of a snapshot, at least the idea. Hey, so where to write treasury rules? So the top winner here is a Git book in this case, and I will say that is like from 7 people. I think this is a 70% consensus. It looks good to me. This means 2 people thought that it's not a good place and something else is. There is a medium, which is I think even an extra opportunity.
Well, to be fair, there's 12 responses from 7 people, so that's a thing, but it does look like a majority, yes.
Yeah, because everybody had the opportunity to choose whatever. But this shows kind of where the consensus lies. Who can write treasury rules? People in Treasury Guild meetings is again something mostly chosen. Okay, so we just got ourselves the power. So for now, we have more people in this room and people who think we should have that power. Okay. Requirements to have a valid vote. So in order to even, okay, but we didn't really, well, we can say that 4 of these responses were done right now were valid votes because they just came because they were in the meetings and I've seen all of you in past 2 months. So it's somewhat right, but how can we how could we enforce that? I guess we have to ask people's names next time we start to doing these kinds of forms.
Yeah, true. In a way, to me, the second one feels a little bit weird, like contributed in Discord past 2 months. Like we're probably, most likely at least, not gonna assess on a case-by-case basis what exactly somebody typed into which channel. And yeah, so that's a bit of a vague one, I feel. And same can be said for meeting attendance in a way, not to completely shoot it down, but if you just, let's say you lurk in one of the meetings, you don't say anything, you're just there, you get the work tasks assigned to you, like this person was there. Is that enough? It looks like.
Yeah.
I think this question at least answers clearly that nobody agrees with the no requirements needed. That's strong.
Yeah, I think that the biggest learning here is that some kind of expectation is needed to be part of the but yeah, and to me, I think future and name or indicator needed for having valid. And right now it can be quite easily. So this is something we may need to pursue even more, like what exactly would be the requirements, but maybe not. Maybe this is going to be enough until somebody says like, hey, this is unfair that they can vote even though I put so much effort into this. then we can restart thinking.
Do you think people's like people that contribute a lot, maybe their votes can weigh a bit more than the other people? So if they do a lot of debug tasks, then their vote would count more.
I like that. I mean, implementation is a different thing, but in itself.
Yeah,
one thing I thought about was if how often we update or sort of go through what the rules are and update if new people come in, and so if we do it monthly or quarterly or something like that.
But that will be then related to okay, so you mean that different roles have a different voting weight, and then how often we check the changes of role and their weight? Did I understand it correctly?
Yeah, something like that. Just so we don't lock ourselves to one set of rules if they might not be useful, in a year from now.
Well, I actually think that you're, yeah, fair. That's accurate.
Right now, what I already feel like that on the left side, I'm trying to bring up some kind of like statements, which then are going into, well, presumably Git book, where we can make the treasury like rules. And on the right side, all the questions we ask and where we kind of ideate and feel like lacking, these could be the questions for the future forms. So basically, as we question ourselves, we make it publicly available to collect data on the questioning and then reiterate that information. We can run into issues and overhead measures, but but then like how often we recheck rules, this is like thing which then helps us to kind of navigate like, okay, let's set up some rules, let's choose something, and then let's stick with it and see how it turns out. Next one. what is the threshold to accept new rules? So basically that was a percent of like 10 to 100%. And it looks like most of us are in the good enough zone, so 70%. And where we see here is this Git book. All of these what were already kind of chosen already is accepting the threshold of what most of people were choosing. So that's a good sign. The rules we set up was done. And what is the minimum amount of responses required to forums in order to use results to set or change rules? So we did get 7 responses, and somebody expected 10. You crazy, you think we have so many communities? But yeah, this is average here, I would say 7, and we have actually 7, so but not for all. So for example, in that case, a 7 wouldn't be enough for any of these. Only no, yeah, none of these would be actually valid votes. So what you guys think here? Because we are the ones who are gonna set treasury rules, we are able to change it.
How I basically voted for those last two is my thinking was like a 70% threshold on the amount of people that voted. So I was thinking like theoretically if 10 people voted, I would like about 7 people to come to consensus on something. So that final amount could be different from 10, but 70% in my mind was kind of my thinking on how I voted on those two.
Okay, so I thought it's like the same thing. Yeah, well, yeah, the idea was here how many minimum votes you literally need, like responses, and the percent is like another thing.
Right. I guess in the future it would depend on how many people we have that are typically voting on something. You know, if it was 8, I would still expect like 70% of those people to agree on things or something like that.
If that is okay, I would suggest that we go with the lowest number, 5 right now, even though this is very small, but considering that, for example, Treasury Guild had in some weeks it has like 2 or 3 people, Process Guild has mostly 2 people, sometimes 3, and so using the amount of people who are actively participating in like a face-to-face meeting, I would use that as a metric to compare what is the minimum amount of people we need or would start using. Perhaps the ambassador town hall would be the best, and in that case there were also like I would say around 7 is an average of last few months, I would say. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree with your thought process on that.
And then, yeah, although like, I think we could push even more the forum if it would be like annoying and say like, hey, we really need, we cannot go further, we cannot pay anybody if you do not push for, and we probably would start getting more answers. But I think like being bureaucratic about it is not gonna help us either. So yeah, what do you say? Let's stick with the 5 so that all of these above would pass, except this is 4. But it's around here. This is just a percentage.
Yeah, for that one we can say 65%, right? On the threshold.
Yeah. 65.
Oh, that doesn't really make sense with 2 and 4 votes for 6 and 7.
Now, and another thing is now actually didn't think about. One is what is the minimum amount of responses required? So in that case, in that sense, the 7 is correct. We had 7 responses. But I was actually now thinking like, what is the minimum amount of consensus you will need? But then that's the percent. So I think we're good. We're good here. And then updated by average participant amount in ambassador town hall. So if ambassador town hall starts suddenly getting 20 people every week, then in order for all the new rules start working, you would need 20 people voting. And if in the end it's gonna start shooting us into the leg, that kind of rule setting, then you can come back and ask and do some extra ruling that except when and then situations like.
Yeah, otherwise you can never lower it.
And next one, who should have control of work group budget? So there are Treasury Guild and work group leader, 2 highly selected results. I guess we can give power to both then.
So then practically that would mean and also I see the last answer is actually a combination of the first 2 and additionally guild discussion. So that's even more is adding to that. But then practically speaking, I guess the work group lead would come up with a plan and puts it to the Treasury Guild, and like we need to figure out the process. And then I imagine the Treasury Guild could perhaps shoot off a suggestion if it's simply not agreeing with the proposal or the proposed budget.
Yeah, I agree. Like a conversation between the work group lead and the Treasury Guild, whether the person wants to come to one of these meetings or if they want to have the conversation in chat form if they can't make the meeting.
Mm-hmm. Or a Treasury Guild member comes to the work group meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically two-way to agree on allocation. And also I wrote there is always a work group lead for work group. So as work group lead assumes that there is going to be somebody who's leading it. So if there is nobody, somebody wants a group to form and willing to participate, but is not willing to lead, then basically no financials will come to that. Somebody has to be there. And would that be okay? All right, I'm gonna give a co-host to a few people because looks like Ian has been waiting for a while. Okay, Mira.
Could be something in the future if there's a work group, you know, a couple people want to start together and they don't really think anybody's like a lead. They could at least nominate somebody to be the lead on the conversation, or if, you know, all 3 or 4 of those people want to be involved in the conversation on the budget, they totally could.
So you mean like a work group lead from another group would be responsible of a budget of another group?
No, sorry. If you had like 3 people that wanted to start a work group, none of them really think they're like the leader of the group necessarily. They could still nominate somebody to take initiative to discuss with the Treasury Guild, or all 3 of them could discuss with the Treasury Guild their budget.
Okay, but they can nominate, but then it's the nominator still ends up being the lead, because there has to be some person who now gets all that money and starts allocating out, distributing out. And when there is something going on, then he's the person going to be contacted. So it's
Yeah, that's true. You could have a work group possibly where, you know, it's a couple different people and they set up tasks, and then they're expecting the task payouts to be handled by whether it's Treasury Guild in the future or whoever's giving out the rewards, instead of them getting a monthly allocation to like a specific wallet that they distribute out. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does. It does. It makes me wonder I know Miro has been waiting, but Andre, Miro, what you think about if different teams starts asking you of how to allocate money instead of like they managing the budget, but you have to manage their budget? Is that something?
No, actually, I think that in all this process is better that we have, more heads than only one or two, because if we have 5 heads in the meeting, I think that we will be smarter, And also, Tivo, this is good question. I mean, we can present how we will manage and how we will do stuff with the system, And this is our concept, how we are actually doing the job, so-called job. But yeah, you're right. If someone from outside will come and push something that actually, I don't know. Yeah.
Because in the end, the work group will decide, okay, that person needs now payment. And if every dime, yeah, I guess the process is now like send 1,000 to that address, thank you. And then maybe that's it. And I guess Treasury Guild is just then writing off checks basically. And is that something what like Treasury Guild should be doing?
Actually, Tivo, I think that in Singularity Net community, I think that we will have one person who will decide what's going on with funds. And this is okay that we communicate with one person, even 2, 3. But if I will have every week, meetings with 3 persons, and these 3 persons will not be in a line what's going on with the payments, we will go crazy, All team will go nuts. Huh? So actually, I think it's good that we have 3, 5, 10, 20 people on the meetings, and we can brainstorm about everything. But when we make decisions, it's good that we have one person with which we can communicate about funds, And this person lead, or how can I say that? I think it's good that this lead guy or girl communicate with team from I don't know where to decide what's going on with the funds. I mean, this is my humble opinion.
Okay. But then this actually means that work group doesn't have to have a lead, and they just nominate, they get their idea together, and Treasury Guild can be the responsible who just then make sure that tasks and bounties are rewarded basically.
Yeah, but maybe Timo, maybe we can present how we are doing in Swarm with Felix and with you and other guys. So maybe we can start from there and see how this stuff will go, in Singularity Net. Because we also have one person. We have one person. Okay, guys, can you do this? Then we said, okay, yeah, we no problem, and then we are doing. And these guys actually communicate with another bunch of people, and they are all connected, and they are doing the works and tasks and everything. But in the end of the day, we actually have one person.
Okay. You also wanted to say something else. You had hand up before I dragged you into this question.
on my mind was this, that it actually is good that we have couple of heads in the meetings, and because we will be smarter than 2 or 3 people. That was the reason that I put hand up.
I feeling
Yeah,
Add a little bit there. First of all, I do think like checking out the swarm approach and seeing what makes sense to copy. That's the way to go. But let's do that after the form, I guess. And additionally, this question also does bring a lot of further questions, actually. Like right now, I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's a clear definition of who is Treasury Guild. And there are work groups, let's say, for example, on translations. I'm not sure if it even makes sense to have a work group leader, but I would say the people doing translations are a work group. And who is a work group lead for, for example, for the podcast work group? It's pretty straightforward. Julian does that mostly by his own, and that's it. But now, for example, with the marketing guild shaping up, Trandano is stepping up, and I would currently say leading the work group. But there's been no real process for that to establish this. I'm not saying that I'm not happy with it, au contraire, but like, let's say 2 people at the same time decide they want to have a work group for, I don't know, whatever, recipe sharing, just a stupid example, but yeah, if they both go ahead at the same time, then who's the leader? Like, and yeah, I'm not sure if we should like have processes for everything before things happen. Like, I'm very fine with learning as we go, but it does bring a lot of questions.
The idea here, what I thought about when we first created the form, to me, work group lead is somebody who is going to manage basically decisions of what's gonna happen in that group, and also has access to the financials. So that the Treasury Guild or you or any other person doesn't have to manage how these rewards are done, but there is somebody responsible of the budget. So basically managing budgets. Yes,
yeah. One of the other questions on the forum, how do we audit the work group budget spending? I think that'll also help solve some of the problems too, because maybe if a work group wants a budget, maybe there's a form criteria they need to fill out, and then we review that as well. That way, that's basically the consensus of that work group on what they want their budget to be and how to utilize it.
I think back to what I mentioned earlier about when we at some point go over, look at the experience, and then go over and see how it aligns with what we have agreed upon, and then does it work in practice? Can something be improved in terms of the practicalities around it? But I agree with what's been said.
Shall we move on? Where do you get approval for spending the budget? Okay, this is one of the questions which we actually didn't get the proper answer. So I'm glad that it's not a process guild, so it doesn't have more stuff to do. But yeah, or because it's not even signaling that basically half of the group thinks that it should be another half of the basically either no approvals or Treasury Guild gonna do something.
Somebody voted twice.
No,
Everybody, I think only one, but somebody is swaying the results here.
I think maybe I remember I voted. No, I didn't vote twice, but I selected two options in one of
Yeah.
the.
You can select many. I think this, I'm not sure what to do with these results. To me, it's too hard. I feel like we need to somehow make it, rephrase that and get the new like a heat map of that.
Yeah, I agree. Especially the last option makes it a bit weird. Like no approval needed once budget is allocated. I could also read the initial question as whether you get approval on allocating the budget.
Yeah,
So that creates a bit of a. But regardless, Tano and Treasury Guild is only one vote difference. So yeah. But
I'll admit that I
Go
was
ahead.
guilty as well in on some of the questions to vote or like to.
So what should be the
different boxes?
Oh, okay, sorry.
Because I was just
We're lagging a bit. So what are the two questions here? Who approves initial allocation? And another one is
In this case, initial allocation would be, for example, for the marketing guild, let's say 7.5K tokens. That's what you mean there? Or do you already mean inside of the work group? Further
yeah,
out?
exactly. Like these are the two different questions, because I realized I think the last question kind of throws us off guard. Like what does it now mean? The internal allocation or just to get the initial? So separating into the two, like who approves initial allocation and how to approve in groups internal allocations. And then, yeah, we can create a new form of that and see if there are like expectations that there has to be a task or something. And here we somewhat actually even answered who approves initial allocation, who should have control over work group, and those who have control basically. And well, depends. Is the Treasury Guild now a working group who gets the budget from Peter, or this is going to now managing the entire monthly ambassador budget and coming from there? So,
well, there's some practical. Practically speaking, that's hard to do right now because I think I shared before. The way I do the funds is through uploading a CSV. And from there it gets taken care of. I don't have a dedicated wallet assigned for this currently, and yeah, that's on my list to get that changed and to have that as decentralized as possible, and that would be in hands of the Treasury Guild, in my opinion. But that's not the current situation, so yeah. I mean, in a way, nothing is stopping me from simply sending all that comes in, sending it to another wallet, I guess. But that's something I do not want to. I want approval for that, basically, before doing so internally.
all right, let's jump next and last one. How do we audit workgroup budget spending? Some like forms, monthly financial updates in Town Hall. You crazy people who selected that. And looks like this is going to be it. And again, we see that people do expect some kind of reporting what's happened with the the sources. And one wants all of these three, which means basically just a sixth.
Well, I guess there's a bit of bias because people who would select that option would not be in this meeting. They would be like, yes, whatever, this does whole treasury stuff. But like, I don't care. Just don't.
But why you think, Tivo, this is not good to present in town hall to the community what's going on with the funds and how these funds were actually allocated past months or something like that?
Because it's each group, and I feel like, I don't know.
It doesn't have to be in half an hour update for each work group.
We can
Yeah.
present that in 5 minutes. It's no
Yeah,
problem for our side.
Yeah,
5
I
to
just-
10 minutes we can present like this, but yeah, because actually we are doing like that once per week. Andre and I, we are actually going to the meetings of projects and present to the core meeting teams what's going on in funds, how much funds we have, what actually we paid this week, last week, and so on. And in 10 minutes we are finito, and everything is mamma mia nice.
10 minutes, crazy. Yeah, and okay. From that, the second question now is to what questions group should answer. So that is something in future to think about. What should be in the financial report?
I'd imagine an overview of last month's spending. I mean, like you don't have to, like if you have 100 tasks, for sure don't go over all of them. Please don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we can keep it simple. I mean, we can decide what are we going to present to. We can, I don't know, decide on one core meeting of treasury core meeting. We can decide what actually we'll present. Tasks, bounties, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that group, you can say how much you spend on operations and how much you spend on fixed costs. Maybe make categories like that.
Yeah, but we still don't know needs of group or payments. What kind of needs we have? When we will know needs, then we can present what's going on with funds.
But it's they will present, not us. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, also okay.
This group would, if this group starts getting budgets, then I guess we too. But then in our case, I guess we will be showing the forms and meeting notes. I'm not sure what else we're gonna do. Oh, well, updating Gitbook perhaps. But that's great. So we did get some ideation going already, what people could select on the next form. We have several questions coming up. And back to this, should we reuse the form? I think your first estimation, most likely not, was a pretty good one. It did feel like a snapshot, and everything which we didn't get the answer to, we can have an improved version of that, or like more detailed questions in order to drive in the actual output we are interested in. So what you think of this small exercise of doing the form, getting feedback, and now looking at the results? OEP first. You're on mute. I asked to unmute.
Who?
OEP or OEP or Capella.
Capella.
Okay, can you hear me?
And we can hear you.
Okay, after proceeding, you asked concerning the form. I think we can make a little adjustment from like the name people answering
losing a queue at the end. It looks like you're like outside somewhere.
Yeah.
And now I'm echoing.
Could you try typing out what you said, Capella? Your microphone's a little messed up.
Anybody else? How did you find this exercise? This 2-3 week cadence of trying to form some rule setting and now analyzing it. Do we think we're getting the right track, or should we focus on other mechanisms? Because that was like a polling for sentiment, kind of.
I think it's good. We bumped into the a couple of practical questions when work groups were shaping up, to which we now have at least tentative answers, I would say, some framework of working with. So that's good. I guess the next practical thing that will happen is going to be the marketing guild shaping up and starting to generate tasks and reward payouts. So I imagine we'll bump into things there which potentially are still unclear. I'm not sure. I think I think that should be fine. There's a meeting tomorrow, and I hope that will generate a bunch of tasks, potentially allocating the budget for December, or at least a portion of it. Yeah, and then we'll see if we get into issues like people not agreeing and or like making really weird suggestions and proposals which need to be shut down, but I don't think this will be the case. So practically speaking, would the result of this now be that let's say tomorrow during the marketing guild we come up with budget is 7.5K tokens, and I don't know, we would allocate all of it for December. Somehow we come up with the proper tasks. Would that practically mean that if we during tomorrow's meeting decide upon that's the way to go and we don't need any sign off, or would this still require sign off?
If you are there or Grandano is there, then yes, because we both are in Treasury Guild. So we have the double link, and so it's not like it's happening randomly. Like we now are aware of that, and it's actually been aware of several weeks now that this group is happening and they are doing stuff and they plan. So yeah, I think that would be enough, which brings us to a quick final discussions in the past, like allocate budget for the current Telegram admin groups. So perhaps you can share, because one thing like the 7,500 AJAX so far, this is enough to kind of have like an asset generative budget, but I'm not sure would that same amount be for the Telegram admin groups, because I'm not sure where that value is captured.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I can give a bit of background there. Looking at the time, we have 2.5 minutes before the EU town hall starts, and I do think most of us want to do that, so I'll keep it short. First thing, this is only for 2023 and onwards. It's not backwards for past period, so that's not an issue. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can put endless amounts of time into Telegram engagement. There's moderation of spam. That's one thing, but having conversations, like, yeah, you cannot put that at the same $10 per hour rate that would just fly through the budget because we've got multiple admins at the same time online, and you know, that's very impractical. And that's also not the reason why these Telegram admins do this. It's more like, yeah, I don't know. Before the ambassador program was a thing, they were pretty much the admins, the ambassadors. So yeah, but on a I do think it makes perfect sense to allocate some of the ambassador budget to that group, simply because they are out there actively and answering questions, and yeah, that's just ambassador work in my mind. So it would make sense to like we've got weekly meetings, for example, with the admins, discussing what's the latest and what stuff pops up on Telegram which needs answers. So there's quite a lot of involvement as well. But yeah. All right. Looking at the time, maybe this is enough for now. To let's simply wrap up for now, and I'll get more detailed into this for through text, if you don't mind. Because I think we will all see each other on the EU Town Hall.
Can you drop the link? Because looks like you have it handy.
For what? For Telegram?
For the Town Hall.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a link would be sweet.
Else I need to find that from somewhere in Discord.
You don't have it on your calendar?
No.
Crazy.
Before this Town Hall, basically to Telegram.
Ah, Mario is faster than me.
Nice.
Actually, register link. Nice. So, yeah. For now, thanks a lot, and to be continued.
Have you asked ambassadors themselves what would they expect as reward? The admins, I mean.
No, not directly, because they're not doing it for any rewards. We do give them some tokens every now and then.
Right. Maybe you can ask that, but yeah, I guess we need to asynchronously keep on that.
Yes, I will.
Oh, thanks for joining. We see people already jumping off to the next meeting, but we got a great day where we went through the form, which we all slowly were working on. And with the final note, 100,000 tokens are distributed so far in Ambassador program.